Hello crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I have a watercolor card video featuring Altenew stamps, and it is for the first Altenew video challenge. So the challenge is to create a 3 to 7 minute card video featuring Altenew stamps, and so I have this Eid greeting set from Altenew, and I will link to the challenge in the video description below so you can check out the challenge. And I'm sorry, it's not just a card challenge, any sort of project will do. And so I'm starting by stamping my greeting in VersaFine ink because I will be embossing it. I'm going to do an emboss resist technique with the watercolor. So I am stamping my sentiment and the flowers from the set in VersaFine Onyx Black ink and then putting clear embossing powder over it. This gives the effect of black embossing powder, but the clear embossing powder doesn't stick to the paper as much. Now you could also just stamp it with VersaFine ink and let it dry completely and achieve a very similar effect because VersaFine ink is waterproof, and so you won't smear it at all and it will look very similar. The only difference and the reason that I chose to do the clear embossing is it gives it a little bit of a raised effect, and it's a little bit darker in the end. So I'm going to stamp a variety of flowers from the set, and I'll be doing a diagonal pattern around the sentiment. I was having a little bit of difficulty with the stamping because I'm using the textured side of Tim Holtz watercolor paper from Ranger, and so the stamps weren't coming out 100% clear, and like I said, I think that's just from the texture of the paper, and I found that if I stamped with a little bit more pressure, I was getting a clearer image. But later on in the video, I will show you how to fix any little areas where the stamping wasn't completely clear. It's a little bit hard to see on videos, on video, the instances where the stamping's a little bit messed up, but like I said, I'll address that later. I'm going to start with my watercoloring. I have some clean water in a cup there to the side, and also my Koi watercolors. I wanted to try the effect of adding water first and then placing on the watercolor because I like that really artsy look that it gives where you can see that clear line of the watercolor drying. And I've been trying to watch some other videos about watercoloring. When I did my 2,000 subscriber giveaway, a couple people had asked about seeing some more watercoloring, and it is something I really enjoy, so I'm just going to try to mix it up a little bit here today with some watercolor. I decide to create a diagonal stripe with the watercolor similar to the one created by the flowers, and I'm going to color all over everything. Even though the flowers in the end will be colored, they are just going to be painted over with a darker color, so it doesn't matter that I'm getting this orange color into the flowers at this point. I started off with the lighter orange color from the Koi watercolor set, and I'm just trying to add lots of water on my brush along with the paint so that way it really spreads and creates something interesting, and kind of let it do its own thing and not control it as much, because I find that when I try really hard to control exactly where the watercolor is going, it looks a little bit too forced, and it's not the sort of dreamy watercolor look that I see everyone else doing and really enjoy. So I found that by adding some more water, I was able to get a better watercolor effect. And like I said before, I want to color in the flowers, but I don't want to have to color the watercolor all around each flower, so I decided that I would do a light background and then color the flowers darker so that it would cover right over the orange background paint. It's important to make sure that your background paint is completely dry first, because otherwise you'll get a lot more of the colors muddying each other. And I wasn't looking for the colors to blend, I was looking for the colors to layer. While the orange will be activated a little bit by the addition of the water for the blue, if it's dry, it won't be as much. Also, because I want the blue and later the purple to be a darker watercolor, I'm not adding much water. That's one of the best things about watercolor, is that you can really get a lot of variation in the color just by the amount of water you use, and you can experiment with that. So I'm adding only a very small amount of water to my blue paint, and then the same thing with the purple, so that I have some blue and some purple flowers. Once I finished that, I decided that I wanted it to look a little bit more messy and artsy, and so I decided to dip my brush in some water and then the orange paint and just flick it on so that there's just little droplets of color falling where they will. This does get some droplets of orange on top of the roses or the flowers there, and so you see that all I do is dab it with a baby wipe and it picks up the orange color without picking up too much of the blue or the purple because those are completely dry at this point. But I also am going back and just dabbing each of the flowers with a clean baby wipe and the sentiment because I want to make sure any watercolor paint that is dried on top of the embossed area is removed just a little bit to make it stand out and be a little bit more of a solid black. Now I mentioned before I would talk about how you could go back and fix any lines that weren't quite solid. Here is a Pitt Artist pen and it is waterproof, and so I'm just drawing in any of the black lines that weren't perfect. Then I decided I needed just one last thing to finish off this card, and so I have some sequins from My Style Stamps. I really like their sequins because they're super sparkly, but also a really great price. $1 for a package, and so I have all of the colors. And I just chose the slightly darker yellow, this saffron color, I believe it was called. And it adds just that little bit of interest and finishing touch to this card, and I'm just going to put the sequins in the places where I'm finding a little bit of a gap. I wasn't able to always fit a flower in the spaces, and so the sequins help fill that out a little bit, and I try to keep in mind little visual triangles between the sequins so that they're not all in a straight line. And that's it for my card today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in more crafty videos, you can subscribe to my channel. I'm going to leave you a link to the challenge, as mentioned before, and also to the products in the video description below. Thanks for watching. Bye.